irate customers come in two kinds. There are irate customers who are not verbally abusive, they're just upset, but there are also those irate customers who are verbally abusive. And today, we're going to talk about how to handle each of them. So your customer is verbally abusive when her comments are racist, sexist, homophobic, or when she's attacking you personally, or when she's yelling louder and louder and louder, and when there's repeated and consistent profanities. First, I'm going to talk about how to deal with just a regular irate customer but not verbally abusive. And once that's done, I'm going to talk about how to deal with an irate customer and a verbally abusive one. Let's begin. So the step one and the most important step is to stay calm and listen without interruptions. Now, this goes without saying because two parties just cannot solve a problem if both of them are upset. So if one is irate, one must be cool-headed, and that is you, the agent. And another thing is listening. Now, when you listen to the customer, you're already telling her non-verbally that she has your full attention. You are willing to listen to her, that she can vent out her frustration. Once she vents out her emotional stress, that is the only time that she's going to be able to respond to reason. This is specifically crucial at the early stage of the call where the customer is likely going to pour her heart out. And when she does that, make sure that you listen, do not interrupt. When you interrupt, you're telling the customer no, that you're impatient and you couldn't care less about her problem. You're just going to antagonize the customer. And antagonizing the customer is the last thing that you want to do in customer service. Now, the step 2 would be to empathize, apologize, or assure, whichever applies, depending on the situation. So, apology is when the company made a mistake, you have to apologize. Empathize if the customer is experiencing an inconvenience, whether that inconvenience was caused by the company or caused by her, you still have to empathize. It's like telling your customer, I know how you feel. I understand how you feel. And assurance is when you are going to tell the customer that you're going to do something certain for her. For example, you're telling the customer that, don't worry, I will make this right for you. Here's what I'm going to do. And you will get this solution. But if you're still unsure about the outcome of her issue, then you can still assure your customer by telling her that you're going to do everything you can to help her. That is still an assurance. And the step 3 would be to state the specific action that you are going to take to resolve the issue of the customer. Now, being specific is very important because you're telling the customer that you have a plan and you have an exact plan, that you know what you're talking about and that you're going to solve her problem. Here are the examples.
So my order shipped on the 1st. It's already the 28th and I still haven't received it. And if you track it in Canada Post, the last update was on the 16th. So it has been stuck in transit for 2 weeks now. And listen, I know that you are not Canada Post and you did not cause the delay yourself, but I am desperate. And you are the shipper, so I need you to contact Canada Post on my behalf and speed up the whole thing. Please do something about this. Please, I don't know what to do anymore.
I'm so sorry to hear that. That's way beyond the Canada Post timeframe. You definitely should have received it by now. But don't worry, Amber. I can definitely follow up on your behalf. If you can give me the order number, I will call Canada Post for you and then update you through call before the end of this day. How does that sound? So as you heard, the customer was a little upset. But there was no apology needed because it wasn't the company's fault that the order was delayed. There was an empathy because there was an inconvenience, and there was definitely an assurance because there was something that the agent could do to help the customer with her inconvenience. So as you can see in this graphic, apology is yellow, empathy is red, and assurance is green. And as you can see, there is no yellow here. There's only the empathy, which is red, and the assurance as the green. But what happens if it is your company's fault? Here's an example.
You are a bunch of incompetent idiots. You had one job to deliver my dress before the 14th. I called you before I placed the order. I specifically confirmed it with Nicole. You know what she said? She said, "Yes, we can definitely deliver your order before the 11th. In fact, we will do it within 24 hours." Now, you know what the best part is? That was 5 days ago. It's already the 14th, and I am left without a dress for the wedding. All because of your crappy, scamming company. Do you have any idea how frustrating this is for me? What is wrong with you people? Do you really expect to build a business by lying to your customers? I need you to refund that immediately.
I truly apologize for this, Amber. I can only imagine how stressful this might be for you.
Beyond stressful, Candice. Beyond stressful. You
Yes.
can't even imagine.
Yes, and we really should have done better than this. Normally, we ship orders within 24 hours, but this was clearly not the case with your order. This was a huge mistake on our part, and as you said, you have no need for the dress anymore. I will immediately request to have you refunded in full. I truly apologize for this. I truly wish we've done better than this. So as you heard, the customer was very upset, and probably even more upset than the first example. There was definitely an apology because it was the company's fault. There was an empathy because there was an inconvenience. And there was an assurance because something needs to be done to make it right. So as you can see with the color codes here, there's the apology, which is the yellow, and empathy, which is the red, and green as the assurance. I suggest that you screenshot all these guides so you will have a reference the next time you encounter an irate customer. And if you need more examples, here's a third one. So as you can see, there's the I understand how you feel. So that's the empathy. We truly apologize for this, Amber. This is an apology. And I assure you, I will make this right for you. And then state the specific action. But what if there's no resolution? What if the customer is asking an impossible thing? Or what if there's just no alternative? What if the only way is to tell your customer no? What should you do? Well, in this case, just empathize with the customer and then give a reason why you can't. But the most important thing here is you need to be firm. Here's an example. Amber, I know this is disappointing for you, but because we have given you the exception before, we can no longer do so this time. I see here in the system that Camille sent you an email about this on the day that she gave you the exception. So we just can't give you another one. So as you can see, the agent acknowledged that it must be disappointing for her. But unfortunately, based on the company policy, there's just nothing she can do about it. And the step 4 would be to repeat steps 1, 2, 3 until the customer calms down. Do not expect that your customer is going to calm down immediately right after you perform the steps 1, 2, and 3 the first time. Because emotions are never rational. So based on my experience assisting irate customers, they usually start to calm down around second or third, or if the customer is super irate, fourth cycles of 1, 2, and 3. So just bear that in mind. It depends on the case of the customer and the customer itself. You're going to know that the customer has calmed down because her complaints will be less frequent and her tone will be less hostile. So you will definitely feel that as a human yourself. One of the best tips that I recommend to speed up this process of the customer calming down is to deliver bits of good news here and there, if there is any. An example of this would be, you can say something like, normally they reply within hours, so you should get an answer within the day. Or you can say, I have a direct contact with the manufacturer, so the replacement should be shipped tomorrow. You're using positive scripting to deliver more good news to the customer. And in return, this will help the customer calm down faster. It's like you're using positive scripting to lift the customer's mood. So this is also very useful. Another very simple tip that I can give you is to call the customer by their first name. This applies with American customers because we usually just call American customers by their first name. So when you call them by the first name, you're getting their attention. Instead of just not addressing them at all. So it's important that you get the first name first and then address them using that first name. And according to Dale Carnegie, a person's name is to him or her the sweetest and most important sound in any language. So don't underestimate this simple but also effective tip. You know, we all have that experience where we are in the middle of a crowd with strangers and then all of a sudden, somebody calls our name and we're just like, wow. And then it gets our full attention. So this also applies when you're assisting an irate customer. And now here is the most awaited part, and that is if the customer is verbally abusive. If the customer doesn't calm down, no matter how many times you repeat the steps 1, 2, and 3, there's just no sign whatsoever of him or her calming down, then this is going to already classify as a verbally abusive customer. Now, in this case, my guideline would be the following. First, you need to assure the customer that you know what you're doing and that you are going to help her. But second, you have to tell her that what she's doing is keeping you from doing your job. Say that what he or she is doing is keeping his issue from getting resolved. And third, give your customer the option to discuss her issue now, rationally, or discuss it at a later time. Here's an example if the customer is cursing, racist, homophobic, sexist. Amber, I can definitely help you with this issue. I really can. However, your continuous use of foul language is keeping that from happening. Now, would you be willing to discuss this rationally? Or do you need a few minutes of your own so I can help you later? Which would you prefer? Now, being racist, sexist, homophobic, it goes without saying that you really need to call out your customer when they exhibit these behaviors during your call. But when it comes to cursing, there might be an exception. I think it's quite understandable that when we are upset about something, that we could let out 1 or 2 F words or 1 or 2 profanity here and there. And that's fine. For me, as an agent, I would just let it. But if the cursing and profanities are consistent, persistent throughout the call, not just at the start of the call, but throughout the call, then that is a time that I would already classify it as a verbally abusive customer and I would already issue the warning. Whereas being racist, sexist, homophobic, these are inexcusable behavior and you really need to call out the customer for these the first time they do this. Another example is if the customer is attacking you personally. Maybe she's not cursing, but she's specifically targeting you as a person. Then here's an example. Amber, I can definitely help you with this issue right now. I really can, but not if you call me names. Now, would you be willing to stop calling me names so that I can help you? When a customer is attacking you personally, she has basically crossed the line between being upset into being verbally abusive. You have to establish your boundaries. So you have to call her out for that. And another scenario is if the customer is not cursing, but is yelling nonstop. That would also classify as a verbally abusive customer. One of the indications that the customer is starting to calm down is her tone of voice is already becoming softer and softer instead of yelling. Now, when she is yelling all throughout the call, that is your cue to issue the warning. And here's an example. Amber, I can definitely help you with this issue now. I really can. But for me to be able to do so, I need you to give me a few moments to explain. Or if you need a few minutes on your own, I can also help you later. Which would you prefer? Now, most agents, when the customer is yelling but not cursing, would get confused whether or not to hang up the phone because they are not cursing, they're not using profanities. But know that if the customer is yelling, that's just yelling and yelling and yelling, then it's time for you to ask the supervisor, your supervisor, and see what to do next. Yelling might not sound like a verbal abuse, but it will not help you resolve her issue. So it's about time to call her out and issue her the warning. And on to the last part. What if the customer is just a plain asshole and just doesn't stop cursing, being a sexist, homophobic, attacking you personally, and all those sort of things? So if this is the case, then it is now time to disconnect the call. Here's my sample script. Amber, we certainly want to help you, but we are not going to get anywhere today. Feel free to call me when you're ready to have a reasonable conversation, but right now, I am going to end this call. Or you can say, Amber, we cannot tolerate this type of language. I have no choice but to disconnect this call. Feel free to call us back once you are ready to have a reasonable conversation. Thank you for calling ABC Company. Bye. Hang up. And then you hang up the phone. All right, guys, that is all for today. In my next video, I'm probably going to make a mock call showing an irate customer and a verbally abusive customer in one call. So stay tuned, subscribe, comment down below if you have any questions, and thank you so much for supporting my channel. Bye!